Title Card, Inspirations and Experts with Sofia Sanchez. Sofia talks with NNCIL Executive Director Mark Tatter about what it's like to travel with a disability.
Hi, I'm Sofia. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Mark.
It's nice to meet you, Mark.
Nice to meet you.
And I heard you travel, right?
I do. I love to travel. And as a blind person, I get to travel a lot by myself, which I find both challenging but also very rewarding and fun.
Nice. And tell me about traveling.
Well, I have to fly a lot on airplanes, so I'm very familiar with airports and getting rides to and from like hotels or conventions or conferences. And so I've gotten pretty good at it over the years, but it took a while to figure out the patterns and the best way to go about it. So I have lots of tips and ideas on how to travel.
Wow. You travel a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I hear you travel a lot too.
Yes, I do. What support do you make for traveling?
Well, sometimes I need a little bit of help getting from the airplane gate, maybe to get my luggage. So I ask for help to get a person to maybe take me to the baggage carousel so I can find my bag. And once I'm there, I usually have taken a picture of the bag so I can show it to them so they can find it, because every bag these days is blue or brown and looks like a suitcase. So if I show them the one I have, it's easier to find it.
Nice. And let's talk about traveling with disability.
So one thing I think is that you need to think about where you're going and what you might run into as you're going from place to place, to be prepared. So I always think about what I'm going to want to have in my carry-on bag instead of putting in the suitcase. And generally, if I have to have it in the next day, I'll carry it with me. And that might be medications or materials that I need for something, because the airline sometimes will, they'll send your bag to Kansas City and you're not going to Kansas City. So you need to make sure you have those things ready, especially things like if I have a white cane and I need to bring my white cane with me, I always make sure I have a backup with me, because I don't want to have something happen to my regular cane, because it's hard to find stuff like that in a city when you're out by yourself.
Yeah.
Another thing is you want to have a plan to know when you're getting to where you're going. So you have a plan so that you're prepared for when you arrive at the place where you're going to be, so that you might need a little bit of help getting to the room or to find the convention space or food. And so you want to make sure that you're familiar with the location you're going to be in and request anything ahead of time, because they will help you at places, but you sometimes need to give them a little bit of a notice as to what you might need.
Nice.
So I hear you travel a lot. What things do you do when you travel to be prepared?
I asked my dad to drive me to the airport because I have a disability. So I travel because sometimes I forgot myself, and I need to get on time, so I don't want my flight to be delayed.
Yes, I just flew back from a city, and there was snow here where we live, and I had to be prepared to get reliable transportation home from the airport, which was tricky because of all the snow.
It was a lot of snow.
There was.
Oh, I had to fight with a companion also, so someone can be right next to me or someone can watch me, so I don't want to be by myself or alone. So I need someone to be with me, like you. So yeah.
Sometimes when I fly, they change the gate at the airport, so I make sure I have all the applications I need on my smartphone so that I can keep track of what the airline is doing in case they decide to change the gate, because sometimes they only do that on the phone, on the app, and they don't announce it. So you have to be prepared for that. So I always make sure my apps are all up to date and I have the flight information so that they can let me know if I have to change to a different gate.
Yeah. Is there any laws that can help people with disabilities?
Yes, in fact, there's a great law called the Air Carriers Act that was passed about 15 years ago that protects people who are flying with accommodations. So if you have a wheelchair or you need to get on a plane, they have laws about that. And those laws also protect your equipment so that if you're traveling, your equipment will stay in good condition. They'll keep it in good shape for you. And if you're blind, for example, they have to provide accommodations to help you with getting around the airport, and also that they can't take away your white cane, because I need my white cane and I don't want them to put it in the cockpit or something. I need to have it with me so that when I need to get off the plane, it's easy to get to it.
Yeah.
And all of those, that law in particular talks about airplane travel, but any place of public accommodation has to have their facilities set up to be accommodating for people with disabilities, be it someone with mobility or intellectual developmental disability, but also hearing loss, low hearing, blindness, just to have things that are accessible, like to have Braille in every elevator so I can get to the right floor in the hotel. And all of those things are protected by law in the United States.
That's true. Would you like something to add?
Sure, I think sometimes people are intimidated by traveling, particularly traveling alone. But after they do it a couple times, they realize that it's actually fun and people are very helpful and happy to see you. And I enjoy traveling a lot.
That's good. I do too. It's really fun, right?
Yes. In fact, I like to travel because I like to go to places and do things that often people will say, you can't do that. And I say, oh, yes, I can. Watch this. And we'll go. Yesterday, I was on an aircraft carrier in a museum, wandering around, going all the way up to the top of the tower and all the way down into the bottom, even though there were all kinds of challenges like stairs and ladders and things like that. I know I can do it. So I went and did it. And after a while, people realized that this wasn't going to be a challenge. And sometimes it's people's perceptions that are holding you back, not the world. You can do things on your own. You can pretty much do anything you want as long as you have the right attitude and you try.
What is it like to be on an aircraft carrier?
Well, it was very big and there was very tall and wide and noisy, but there were planes flying over, helicopters, there were boats blowing their horns nearby. And one thing that was really interesting was some of the smells that you could smell. One of the ones that we identified right away was French fries, because even up on the flight deck, you could smell the French fries being made somewhere. But it was a very complicated place to walk through, and it was a bit challenging. But the sounds that we heard and just the spaces that you had to navigate through, it was wonderful. And since they had it set up for everybody to go to, they had a device that you could wear around your neck where it would talk when you went into different rooms, and it would tell you what was in there. And they'd have people talking and explaining all the stuff around you, as well as the things that you could touch. And it was fun. It was very exciting and a bit challenging, but I had a great time doing it.
Well, I'm glad you had a great time.
Another thing I like to do, I like to go for walks and go birding and listen to the birds and identify them by just their voice and their song. And I've worked with different parts of our town to make sure that the trails are accessible for people. So, for example, they can make gravel actually stiffer so that a person in a wheelchair can roll across it. Or if they have trouble walking and they have balance, they can still walk on the trail and not have to worry about having an uneven surface. So people can go and do the hiking and all the stuff that they want to do, or roll there if they want, with an accessible wheelchair or even their own personal wheelchair.
That's interesting. How do you go birding when you can't see?
So there's wonderful artificial intelligence apps now that you can turn on the app on your smartphone and it'll listen for the birds chirping and it'll tell you what bird is doing that. If you do this enough, you start to learn those songs and you can go out and identify them on your own. I usually go with other people just to have fun with them, but sometimes I go by myself, and by using my orientation mobility skills and stay on the trail, I'm able to do it by myself. And I find a lot of fun in doing that.
Wow. So, do you like birding?
Yeah, I like it a lot. In fact, I like to take groups of people, particularly blind people, but people with all disabilities, into the woods because that's some place I really enjoy going. And where we live, we have wonderful trails that are accessible to people and also a lot of birds of every kind. So you can see a bald eagle not that far from where we are right now.
Wow. That was really fun. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Of course. Want a handshake?
Sure.
Of course.
Sofia and Inspiration Steven talk about their shared love of travel.
Hi, I'm Sophia. What's your name?
Hi, Sophia. My name is Steven. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you too. So I heard you like to travel. So tell me about that.
I do like to travel. I travel in the spring and summer. Usually I will travel to Hawaii with my parents. I will travel to different places. This matter of fact, I will be traveling to St. Louis, Missouri for a retreat. And I also like to travel to different ski resorts to go skiing. When I do travel, I usually travel with someone besides myself. Sometimes I will travel with my parents. Sometimes I will travel with my sister. Sometimes I will even travel alone. Sometimes I'll go to places I've never been to. Or I might travel to places I have been to, like Hawaii. I might go visit, California. I might go back to visit Iowa. I might go back visiting other places I have been, but it's been years since I've been there. So usually I'll travel by airplane. I will usually travel by in a car. I also like, when I do travel, I like camping. I like the outdoors. I like nature as a whole. Sometimes I'll go to even close by places. Like I will travel to Lake Tahoe. I might go up to Virginia City. I might go up to Carson City. In and around of Nevada, I might go travel to. Around California, I'll travel to.
That's who I too. And I've been traveling to new places as well.
Okay.
So Hawaii is one of my favorite ones because I love the beaches and the pools.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I love to go there is Berlin, Germany, and Poland because I was filming a movie there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just love traveling around the world, and it was so much fun.
I also traveled around the world when I was a little younger. I've been to different other places. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to Costa Rica. I've been to Belize. I've been to the Dominican Republic. So many other places that I have been. I also would like to travel to one day to travel to Europe. I've been to Canada. I've been to Mexico. Those are the other few places I have been in the last several years. I also like to travel sometimes to the capital, to Washington, D.C., just to see the sights. I also, when it comes down to it, safety, when it comes down to it, traveling with a person that you know and trust. And when you're traveling alone is to knowing where your surroundings are, knowing your gate if you're traveling by plane. Get to the airport a little bit early. Get through the security line early. Making sure you have your ticket or passport or ID ready to go for security. And after you get through security, to make sure you're gate on time. Make sure you also, when you get to the gate, make sure you have your boarding pass ready to go. And then when you get boarded, make sure you know where you're seating at, and making sure that where you're sitting is the correct seat. And then when you get to your destination, your final destination, is to make sure who's there to meet you and to greet you. And also where you're staying at. Double check where you're staying at. Make sure you have the right place you're staying at.
Logos for Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living and Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living.